All right. Good evening. Welcome, everyone. This is October 9th, Garbage and Recycling Advisory Committee meeting. Everyone should be connected via audio broadcast upon entering the webinar. You do not need to call in, and you are automatically muted. The presentation will be recorded and posted to the Washington County Board of County Commissioners webpage. The agenda holds time for public comment. Comments will be permitted in a time allotted per committee rules and at the discretion of the chair. Committee bylaws on public comment. Only the committee chair may recognize a public attendee. You may use the raise the hand feature to indicate your desire to participate when the chair acknowledges the time has arrived on the agenda. Those attendees calling in will also be recognized and given the opportunity to speak. There is designated time on each agenda to allow members of the audience an opportunity to speak to the committee. Once a public attendee is recognized by the chair, the response will relate only to the request made by the committee and may be subject to a time limit. New business that arises or is suggested during the public comment period should be placed on the next meeting agenda. Now we can proceed to roll call. And let me just get Rich in here. See, he's in the attendee pool. We're promoting him now. There he is. All right, and as Ashwin mentioned, if we can do a short introduction as I call you out for roll call, that would be great for our new members that are here this evening. First up is Chair Ashwin Naharaja.
Yeah, hey everybody. I go by Ashwin or Ashwin, either way works. So I'm the committee chair. I've been on this committee for about 6 years now. My background is in material science and also industrial engineering. And I work in semiconductor manufacturing efficiency for the past 10 years as an industrial engineer. Really enjoy being on this committee. I live in unincorporated Washington County, and one of the main reasons I joined was because I was very interested in all of the composting, the tours, and learning about really just the kind of like the mechanics behind all of the industry behind garbage and recycling. So that's why I'm here. I really like it so far.
Great. Next is Brian St. John.
Good evening, everyone. Brian St. John. I also live in unincorporated Washington County on the east side. I've been with the committee, I want to say it was like April, maybe 2023, maybe like about 2.5 years at this point. I joined initially, or my interest was around the nature of plastics, and we had that experiment with Ridwell, and now we have the purple boxing, the plus bit. Always been very interested in that, and what's going into our garbage. And I love being able to express my voice as a community member to help our government and help our government employees and our board make the best decisions for all of us in the county. So thank you.
Great. Next up is going to be Rusty Davis.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Rusty. I'm the new solid waste and recycling manager at Washington County. I have a background in operations and recycling and composting, and I'm excited to be here.
All right. Fritz-D. Dykink. I hope I'm saying your last name correctly.
You were great. Thank you. I think I came onto the committee the same time as Brian, so I'm in my first term. My path here was through the Master Recycler program. Going through that got me interested in knowing more about how that's playing out in our county. And currently, I'm really interested in how the statewide efforts are going to pan out, implementation of the Recycling Modernization Act. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Good to see you all.
All right, not present this evening is Leslie Albert. Next is Elizabeth Teagan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Teagan. I am a new member to the committee and am here because I'm very passionate about reducing our footprint and interested in making sure that we maximize all the recycling opportunities available to us, and am very happy with having compost at the street now as well. I have spent the past 25 years working for a large public accounting firm. That's my background. I've moved into operations, and I'm super excited to be here and contribute and learn a lot about our recycling and waste work streams.
Great. Thanks, Elizabeth. Next up is Rich McConaughey.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all, and nice to meet you, Rusty. I've been with the committee for going on a year, I think maybe 9, 10 months, something like that. I retired about 4.5 years ago from the city of Vancouver, Washington. I was the solid waste and recycling manager. Also was a consultant and worked with the Association for Oregon Recyclers, probably starting back 35 or 40 years ago, I think. So really enjoying time on the committee. Love the services and the curbside recycling and organics programs that are happening. So I just want to see those continue to do well with the new Modernization Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Next is Sandra Smith.
Hi, everyone. My name's Sandra Smith. I'm the committee vice chair. I've been on the committee for, I think, over 7 years. This is my, I think, final year of my second term. I work for a large financial institution. I got involved with recycling in college. I was on the green team for the University of Oregon way back when. After college, I became a master recycler. My work, I had a green team and I was on that as well. And this was like the next thing to do, was to be on this committee. And I'm a unincorporated Washington County public member.
All right, thank you. And not present tonight is Vinod Singh. And that concludes roll call.
Thank you. Good to see everybody. Hope everyone had a good summer, and welcome to our new member Elizabeth and new recycling manager Rusty. It's good to have you here also. So I think the next item on the agenda is the communications and program updates. I think Rusty, you're gonna take that.
Yeah, so as far as what the county is working on, we're working on RMA implementation, looking into doing a lot of work with contamination reduction. RMA has transitioned into the implementation phase, and so with contamination reduction, we're focusing on to start multifamily units, and then that will as that develops and matures, we'll move into residential and then commercial as well. So right now, the region, metro, and then the cities within the metro region and the different counties are all trying to develop their programs. I feel like Washington counties, we're pretty close to being ready. And this is going to entail like bulky waste pickup. Right now on multifamily, it's just kind of people will throw everything into each bin. And so really education's a big piece, a big component. And then as far as like getting the correct bins, making sure that the residents in multifamily have the opportunity and the knowledge really how to do that. So that's probably the main thing the county's our staff is working on right now as part of RMA. I'm sure everyone's familiar with the RMA Recycling Modernization Act. With that, it's I think as municipalities and counties get further into this, there's a little bit of growing pains, but everyone seems to be working well together to overcome those. We're under the Metro watershed, and so, or technical watershed is what they call it. And so we work closely with Metro to develop this. And then as this is developing, especially with this contamination reduction, we're working closely with our haulers. And, within the county, we have quite a few haulers, and they're really diverse. Some are just focused on unincorporated areas. Others have unincorporated, and then their territories are also within municipalities. And so what we're really focused on with Washington County is the unincorporated areas and what that's going to look like. So Washington County is a big area. There's it's interesting because of the pockets that you would think would be in an urban area, but are unincorporated. And so the haulers seem to be on board. Right now, part of the RMA, we're working on, like color coordinated bins and what that means and what recycling goes into which bin and how that's going to work. And then one of the main focuses right now with the contamination reduction is what happens when we do see contamination. So DEQ has provided some guidelines, and it's not just you've made a violation. It's more of a protracted approach of education. And I think that is the best method to start. There's a few different steps to educate the multifamily units, the property managers, the residents, and then that's our main focus with that. Another area we're focused on is the business food scrap reduction. That's been a pretty successful program within the county, and so we were really in kind of a technical phase and an education phase with business, and now that throughout the metro area, it's starting to shift into more of a maintenance phase here in the next several months. But we're starting to see success with that, and businesses that we're working with have been pretty excited about it, on board with that. It's interesting, with the business food scraps, and even with residential food scraps, just what value they bring to the whole composting cycle. The food scraps provide valuable nutrients, and so coming from a composting background, I'm pretty excited about that to make better compost. But so those are our two main focuses, as well as community outreach. We had a great summer this year of going to different events, interacting with the public, and just providing education and outreach around recycling and composting food scraps and that things of that nature. So I'd say, in the near future, our focus is really going to be starting to ramp up on contamination reduction on the multifamily level to get started, and then we'll branch out into the other markets. And so in a nutshell, that's what we're doing. And I hope that suffices for my first report out at the meeting.
Well, thanks, Rusty.
You're welcome.
Brian, do you have a question?
I do. Thank you, Schwinn. Rusty, first, welcome. Welcome to
Thank
the
you.
group. And I know it's, I think you've only been here, what, a month or something, or maybe not even that long, right? So-
Almost two, believe it or
Two.
not.
Excellent. Welcome. I'm just curious, love the update. You said near future, anything you can be more specific about as far as the education and anything more specific about or like the how the education is going to roll out?
Yeah, so I'd say, within the next 3 to 6 months, we'll probably within the next 3 months, we'll have our game plan like finalized, and then within the next 6, we'll be going out, and just visiting multifamily units and working with the haulers. We're working with the Circular Action Alliance, and just need to finalize an intergovernment agreement there. So yeah, I'd say within the next 6 months, we should be up and rolling, depending on how the contracting phase goes with the CAA.
It's on the news that there was like some pushback from industry on RMA recently. Is that gonna slow anything down, or maybe that?
Yeah, I think some of the pushback is with recyclable items. With RMA, we're starting to collect things as an industry that haven't been collected before, and so some of the haulers are having some pushback with that. I think on an aggregate level, it's really the end market of where's this material going and how is it being processed, because that's also part of the RMA. So there are outlets, there are waste streams that these are going to. It's just, I think what you're seeing on the news is more of growing pains. The RMA, it's something that the industry needs to do, and for good cause. And it's just, I think as time goes on, it just will become easier for the haulers and the businesses, really. I mean, we've seen some businesses that are maybe not recycling as much as they should be, or are choosing, to take the easier route of just throwing a milk jug with some residue in it, just throwing it away instead of taking the extra step to rinse it and put it in the recycle bin. So it's really the education and outreach, as far as that. As far as working with the haulers, it's just more discussion and with them, and just letting them know that this is something we're doing. It's as a state, not just the Portland metro area. I think in Southern Oregon they were experiencing some issues, but they're overcoming those and working with their MRFs down there. And so I really believe that it's just a growing pain issue, and just time will ease the burden that the haulers may be feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I recently went out and met with Vinod out at Far West, and I mean, they're already collecting clamshells and baling them, and it's and they're working with waste streams and market recyclers for that. And so it's something that as an industry, change is tough, but it's something that can be done.
Yeah. Great. No, thank you. Don't see
You're
any
welcome.
questions, so we can continue on. Next agenda item, committee news and calendar updates. Kathy, we can take that one.
Good evening, everyone. It's been quite a while since we had a full-on meeting, so it's nice to see everyone. Hope you all had a great summer. I only have like a couple of updates. One, I am going to a board work session next Tuesday to recommend the appointment of a new member to fill the empty public member seat that Myra held before she resigned. So if we get a favorable recommendation, we'll come back in a couple weeks and then the board will appoint. Her name is Jennifer Hamelman. And then we'll have a full committee. So every seat she will serve the remainder of Myra's term till March and then 4 more years after that for her first term. So that's one item. My plan is that we will have a GRAC meeting in November, definitely one in December. December has the periodic reviews that we've been doing for the last 3 Decembers. This is the final meeting in that cycle of doing 2 service providers every year. We have Pride Disposal and Hillsborough Garbage Disposal that are set for this year. Plus, I will do a short report on Walker Garbage. They had some items that they weren't in compliance with, but we've been working this year, and I'll give a report as to where we are in terms of those activities. And that will get us to the end of the year, and then I would suggest that maybe we can regroup and think about topics again and see if there is some interest in bringing in a speaker or even internally coming back before the committee and bringing you all up to date. As the RMA started July 1, very soft. As it gets more ramped up and there are more deadlines and we have contracts and maybe there's staff changes and updates and all of that, I think that at some point our staff would be happy to come back and give you all an update or briefing on it. As I mentioned to a couple of you, I plan on retiring at the end of January, beginning of February, so there will likely be somebody else dealing with this, but I will, I'm sure, leave it in someone else's very capable hands. So that's just an FYI. I think other than that, I don't really have anything. It's it's like Rusty said, we're kind of working our way. And then all of a sudden, all these actions are going to happen. So we're not quite at the point where we can report out, but we will be shortly.
Oh, thanks, Kathy. As part of this committee news and calendar update, also wanted to just see if anybody had any comments around their recent garbage tour. I know you guys met up to go to the landfill, and it's really cool for us to see it in person, but I also like to kind of hear what people took away from that. I think all the experiences we've had as a committee to go and actually see things in person and understand it better is helpful. And so any volunteers in terms of maybe telling us? I unfortunately did not make it this time. I've made it in the past. But it'd be nice to kind of hear what you guys saw and then any like takeaways that you have from that. Any takers?
I wasn't on the tour, but I just wanted to, I guess, expand on the whole food scraps reduction, that in regards to the landfills, it's going to reduce, I forget what the metric is, but it'll say it's going to create quite a bit of space savings and then gas production savings as the food rots when it's buried. So it's going to be beneficial for the landfills to create space and reduce gas. And then I think one other thing in regard to landfills is that I believe they're using glass beads as alternate daily cover at the Hillsborough landfill, but as part of RMA daily cover, you know, that they're changing that, and so it'll be more like environmental friendly. So
Yeah, and the Hillsborough landfill is the construction and yard debris one, correct? With the overflow going to, I think, Arlington eventually, once this is. That was the one everyone went to, right? The transfer station, yeah.
No.
Maybe you guys can fill me in on which landfill you went to. I may have not caught it.
Well, what I saw was the deconstruction materials. It's impressive. Holy cow, what an operation. I don't think people realize what a big employer the whole business of garbage and waste and recycling is in this area. It's huge. And the professionalism of the people there and apparent enthusiasm for what they do was really heartening to see. What's disheartening is just the amount of stuff just coming in, you know, huge amounts of stuff. And, you know, I don't have any particular insights on how to reduce that and reuse more of that stuff, but it was an impressive operation, and I've had good opportunity to tell other folks about it, which has been helpful.
No, glad you enjoyed it. It is a cool place to see. Just in the constant flow of material and cars and things never ceases to amaze how you can do all that. If no other comments on that, we can move on to the next agenda item.
Oh, Rich has got his hand up.
I had one other comment. Yeah, so seeing the Hillsborough landfill was great. It is a limited purpose landfill, so that can't take any food waste at that site. And we also got to tour the Tualatin Valley Waste Recovery. So it's a large MRF that takes a lot of the drop box waste that comes in, a lot of the dry construction waste, and attempts to recover that. I believe they said that what comes in the door, about 25% or so, plus or minus, is diverted. So that was really encouraging to see. One thing that surprised me was the amount of what they called hog fuel or chipped wood waste that is accumulated. I think that's a lot of what was targeted when they did construction debris. Right now, the markets for that aren't very good in the region, so I guess we'll have to wait and see how that gets handled. But it was a really good tour, a lot of good information, great picnic lunch ahead of time, and it was great to see all the people in person as opposed to just a flat screen. So really enjoyed that. Thanks.
Thanks, Rich. I guess we'll continue on now. I don't see any other hands. So the first action item we have is the committee officer elections. Kathy, are you trying to stop me? Am I missing something?
Yeah, just to make sure that there isn't anyone that wants to comment in the 2-minute comment period that we have now.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't think there is, but just give that opportunity.
Yeah. Oops. Yeah, so it is time for 2 minutes. If anybody in the public attendee pool would like to make a comment or ask a question, they can use the raise a hand feature and you can be promoted to ask your question or make a comment. Doesn't look like any takers there. So we can go on to the next item. So the first action item, or the only action item, is committee officer elections. So we're re-electing or electing a new chair and new vice chair. I believe for chair, the Elizabeth has put her name in there for election. I am not rerunning for chair to hand over to some new ideas. Is anyone else interested in running for chair and they want to put their name up there? And then for vice chair, we had Sandra, who is our current vice chair is, if I understand correctly, Sandra, you are rerunning it for vice chair again. Is anyone else interested in vice chair that we should add to the docket? Doesn't look like it. So maybe we can go first with chair elections. Do we need to, Kathy, do we need to do a documented roll call for this?
We could do just a quick one, I suppose,
Okay.
Just for records.
Yeah.
Do we also have to do formal nominations? Nope. Okay.
Laws don't require it, so we
Yeah.
can stay.
All
So
right, I conduct a roll call if you'd like. Ashwin.
yeah, can you do a roll call, please?
Yeah.
With the nomination of Elizabeth Teagan for chair.
Yes. Ashwin Naharaja,
Enthusiastically, yes.
Brian St. John,
I vote yes. I look forward to the new leadership. Yes.
Christy Dykey,
Yes, very exciting. Thank you, Elizabeth.
McConaughey,
I'm a yes for Elizabeth. Thanks for serving, Elizabeth.
Smith,
Yeah, I'm a yes. Elizabeth, great way to get involved in the committee right off the bat. Wow.
and Elizabeth Teagan. I don't know if.
Yep. In support.
All right. And Rusty, I believe you are a non-voting member? Yes. All right. That concludes.
Oh, great. Congratulations, Elizabeth. I think I will continue to run this meeting, but going on next meeting onwards, congratulations. And yeah, thank you for stepping up and volunteering for this.
Yep, happy to.
And then the next item for vice chair, Sandra, another roll call.
All right. Ashwin,
Yes.
Brian St. John,
Yes.
Christy Dykey,
Indeed, yes.
Elizabeth Teagan,
Yes.
Rich McConaughey,
Yes, and thank you, Sandra.
Sandra Smith,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
and that concludes the roll call.
Thank you, Sandra, for doing it again. Always enjoy having you there and being a good voice of the people. So I'm glad you're doing it.
Thank you, Ashwin, for being our chair the past, I think, 2 years.
Yeah, 2 and some change, but yeah, it's been good. So that concludes officer elections. Congratulations to you both. Continue this on. So next up, we have the presentation for the solid waste recycling administrative rules. Kathy.
Good evening again. I'm Kathy Folsom with Solid Waste and Recycling staff. I thought I'd come before the committee tonight and just provide a really general overview of some topics that we're considering for future rule amendments to our current solid waste and recycling administrative rules. It's been at least about 2.5 years since the rules were revised, and there have been a lot of changes that have occurred that necessitate a general update that includes the implementation of the Recycling Modernization Act that we've been talking about tonight. The administrative rules establish standards for general provisions of the Washington County Code, such as definitions, reporting, education, and residential and commercial collection service standards. One thing I just would remind the committee that in terms of regulations, we only provide regulations for the unincorporated areas of the county. The cities all manage their own, either through a code or rules or a franchise agreement. In terms of education and outreach, for example, for the RMA, we provide that on behalf of the cities throughout the county, with the exception of Beaverton, who maintains their own program. So there's always this little interesting sort of dialogue between where do we regulate and where do we educate? And if we just remember that the education is the broader sector compared to where the regulation starts. Same goes with rates. We only provide rates analysis for the unincorporated areas as well. As listed in the staff report, the major topics that we've identified that may be addressed in this go-round of rules include revisions related to DEQ rules. DEQ, when they are 4 years ago when the RMA first started and then was passed, they've had 2 rounds of a formal rulemaking. They're just about to start a 3rd round in December. So there have been a lot of changes related to the DEQ rules, and we need to make sure that our rules are aligned with the DEQ rules and that we're not opposing something that they put in, or that we're not silent about something such as contamination reduction or new definitions. The other big thing is, as part of the Recycling Modernization Act, there's been an establishment of a statewide collection list. And so and then there are other lists, and then there are other materials that the county may put out there as still need to be collected, even if they aren't part of the statewide list. So I feel like we need to at least refer to both the concept of the list, and then also where are we going to find details about what are in those lists, so that going forward, both curbside and depots and other forms of recycling collection in particular will be set forth in our rules. As Rusty was talking about, the other thing is there's a big push for glass-to-glass recycling, so that you don't end up with the alternate daily cover at the landfill being necessarily the first choice. And so glass collection might not be on the list even, but in the metro region, there's been a big push to keep curbside glass collection. So hopefully that will continue. The next sort of topic that we're thinking about is, should we go to standardized receptacle colors no matter what your customer class is? So if you're a residential or a multifamily or a business customer and you have a cart for garbage, it's blue. Or if you have for recycling, it's a different color, just across, from an education standpoint and education materials, it makes it a lot easier. So, but again, these are just topics. These rules have not been actually formally sent out for comment or review. I just am giving you guys the high level. The third area are customer service standards. We have had a considerable increase in customer complaints or inquiries around things like call wait times, hold times, callback time, options, that kind of thing. So I'm looking to establish some standards and guidance around sort of that interaction. It could be for both an online as well as an actual phone call. I recognize that there are differences between maybe a large hauler that has a call center versus some of the smaller haulers, where they might have one person in the office that's taking calls. So we have to find, some modern kind of address it in a way that we're not creating a huge burden on the smaller haulers, but we're also getting people, we have had some complaints where call wait times have been, hours, like on hold. And so we just think that maybe we need to at least have that conversation and see what would be reasonable. Another area is we have a new risk manager with the county, relatively new, and I had her take a look at our current insurance requirements, and she and her team have set some new insurance requirements in two areas. One, that there is general pollution liability. Right, currently we have auto pollution liability, but it's the difference between the insuring for what happens inside the vehicle versus what happens outside the vehicle. And then also cyber. So like if you take online bill payments, for example, you have some insurance in case there's a big, data breach or a hack or whatever. I have heard that many of our service providers already have this type of insurance, but it's not been captured in our rules before. And then we also would like our service providers to file emergency action plans with the county. Things like it could be, we're thinking about leaving it really broad to start out with. Like, what do you do if there is, what are your plans if there's a major event? How are you gonna, who's gonna contact who? How are we gonna know, sort of that interaction piece? And so for now, we're just asking, I think what we'll end up with is just asking for the plan, whatever it's called internally within each hauler, and then take a look at everything and then maybe come back in a future rulemaking and be more prescriptive. But given that we don't have anything at the moment, I think it's good to just start with the at least getting, for example, contact info, that kind of thing. And then the last big area I would say is we're adding some new definitions. For example, what does contamination mean? We've never defined bulky waste before. Those kinds of things that kind of fall in line with some of these new requirements. And housekeeping changes. A big thing that I've undertaken is currently the rules will have every single customer class will have the same exact rule, like what is an overweight container with all the information in, 5 different places. We're pulling all of those sections out and putting them in one overweight container section so that it'll make the rules a lot more user friendly, I hope, both for staff as well as if it's a customer or if it's a service provider to use. So the rules, when you do see this, they're going to look like they're all been strike through, but in reality, some of it is just moving, like we haven't changed anything. In terms of the review process, we're going to work with the Washington County Hauler Association and other parties to ensure that the proposed rules are understood and don't unduly burden any party. We also are going to seek comments with our local government partners. And of course, we seek any written or oral comments from the committee that will be reviewed and maybe incorporated into the final draft. And in a few months, we're going to bring the proposed revised rules, the actual rules to the county to the committee where we would request a vote on terms of a recommendation to the board. And then there would be a lengthy board process regarding those rules. So this is really just sort of the kickoff. I am hopeful that within, I don't know, couple 2-3 weeks, I'll have the internal review of the proposed rules will be done and they'll be ready to be sent out for interested parties. I guess something I would ask of the committee tonight would be, is there something that you wonder about, like, do we have a rule around it or you think we might? And you don't have to answer tonight, but if you want to comment just in general, you can always shoot, an email. But we're trying to engage as many affected parties as we can. And there are other metros doing some rules around bulky waste and multifamily. As I said, DEQ is doing a third rulemaking. And then I know a lot of other local jurisdictions in the metro region are considering either changes to their franchise agreement or their code or their rules too. So it's a big endeavor throughout the region. There's a lot of moving parts. And with that, I'm
Yeah.
open for questions.
Kathy, I had two questions. I think one on like the like how long do people have to wait to talk to somebody? Was that based off of like complaints that we've been getting, or just the lack of a rule around there? And then also, is there anything about like the requirement to be able to have to speak to a person? Like a lot of the like first line of defense seems to be like a chat type of thing, which you can. I don't know if that's something
Yeah,
we can.
certainly, yeah, there are some that have gone to a more AI driven, like you don't get a live person right off the bat.
Mhm.
We, as it stands right now, we haven't addressed that in terms of your first question. It was a combination. Like we've been thinking about, we need to get more customer service standards. We have some, but they're not very broad. And then we also had, I would say, a considerable number of complaints around not getting callbacks or staying on hold too long or just being unable to navigate like the system.
Mhm.
So we're starting with, I mean, we're going to have conversations with the haulers because we want to make sure that we know what's reasonable and what can happen. But as a broad overview, this is definitely an area that we've decided to, you know, draft some rules around and then see what happens.
Mhm. And then my other question was about like data collection requirements. So like you've gone through these audits the last couple of years, right? And there's definitely been some inconsistency in terms of how they keep records, to what details, right? What does it mean? Is that is that stuff that's going to be encompassed as part of this rulemaking? Maybe you already mentioned that, or do we need to like go back ourselves and look at like some of the like, if I use the example, like Waste Management had a lot of complaints per se, but it's because they kept records of everything, right? Um, so that we could actually look at it and see, what is going on. So is that scope
Uh,
for the in terms of requiring record
That's
keeping?
not in here. It does require that a complaint log be kept. I mean, that gets back to my, it's another area where the size of the company, one size fits all makes it a little bit more broad in terms of what that might look like. And we have relied on the periodic reviews to bring that to each service provider's attention. And so, like, one of the ones that we've already done, there's an agreement to going forward, making sure that, for example, I believe there was one hauler that maintained a complaint log, but it was on their own computer and it got deleted as they went along, like as soon as the complaint was resolved. So it's not really a log. I mean, it's not something that can be reviewed after the fact. It's a log in the moment.
Mhm.
So, but we got agreement that going forward, they won't do that. So that's kind of, you know, I could look into it, but that's sort of the rationale around that.
Yeah, that makes sense. It just seems like it takes a long time then to do some of these corrective actions, right? If we're putting in the rules and then like rotating through them, then they have a year to fix it. Right? It could be like 5, 6 years before some of these things get fixed. But yeah, I understand what you're saying now, though. Elizabeth, do you have a question?
I don't know if we have a rule on this or if it's something that could be explored, but I would like to see maybe some rules around when haulers are required to go up private streets. I know some private streets in unincorporated Washington County are quite narrow. Mine is not, but they won't come up it, so we have to haul ours all down to the end of our neighborhood. So I don't know if a rule exists, but that's something I would like to explore.
There actually is a rule. It's based on whether where the mail is picked up and if it's urban, one is a fire, like where fire trucks will go, depending on if you're rural or urban, and then one is where the mail. And then we also have a rule that says we don't require service providers to basically put either their staff or their equipment at risk.
Mhm.
So if they determine that it's too dangerous for whatever reason, then they don't have to. So between those two things, that dictates which roads get traveled up and which ones require the garbage to be picked or in recycling to be picked up, like down on the corner.
Okay, that's helpful.
Oh, thank you, Shrin. First of all, Kathy, I'm happy and sad. Yeah, you're retiring because it's awesome to be able to retire, but it's been awesome working with you, and it sucks that that has to end. But yeah, a few thoughts from me. Bulky waste. I think there's a lot of confusion around that, so I love that that could be a piece in there. Literally was just having a discussion with my wife, and I'm like, I know there's something about they'll come get some big stuff, and so I think that's huge. Color standardization, very big, especially as somebody moves from like Beaverton and then they move to unincorporated, and then colors could be different and confusion. I think that's a huge bit. Business continuity plans, huge. Also because I'm trying to think back. I don't know if it was like it's one of the East Coast cities, but they had a garbage interruption and you got all the garbage piling up. That I do not want to live in that world, right? So that's a big worry, I think, of for a lot of people. And the last thing I will call out is the cyber stuff. I failed to, and I apologize to Shwen, I didn't talk about my background. So I'm almost a 30-year professional in anti-fraud and authentication work. Cyber stuff's very real. It's coming big, it's coming fast, and the fraudsters don't care what size company you are. I work with municipalities all the time. This is something serious that we should put some good rules around, because if we don't have them there, I don't think the protections will be there, and then something bad is going to happen. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Christy?
Yeah, thanks. Yes, we will miss you, Kathy. My goodness, it's almost hard to imagine a meeting without you. This color of the bins issue, what happens to the old ones? This seems like, is this like really tragically wasteful? How's that gonna work?
So what we're thinking about right now, and again, it's just really conceptual, so we haven't floated any particulars past the service providers or anything else, is a really long period of time before the actual color standards are in place. So that allows essentially exhaustion of existing inventory. They'll be fully depreciated. It allows for redeployment if you have, say, a cart in one sector that you're using and you just need to resticker it or move it like from residential to a multifamily. The existing color standards already are there for multifamily. Same colors. It adds purple for the Recycle Plus, just to make it so there's not too much change, that kind of thing. But we haven't tucked it over with our service providers yet, but we think between having a pretty long time period to actually be implemented and to make sure that existing inventory can be exhausted and that existing inventory is fully depreciated. And so its useful life has been, used essentially. I'm hopeful that if we do end up with a rule around this, that we don't get everyone buying all their new cards all in the same moment, because that puts a huge hit on the rates. It could, if there's a really large expense that happens. So, we would work on this, but for right now, the city of Portland has moved toward standardized colors amongst their service providers. So it's not even just the customer classes, it's different haulers were having different colors and they're working towards standardization. So I think it's something that the region is moving toward, but we thought it would be good to float it out there. And, from an education standpoint, it makes life a lot more, I would say it's much more productive. But I hear you. I mean, for a really long length of time, that's partly why we're not saying do it, have all carts changed next year. It'd be more like 10 years from now.
Yeah, it seems like these carts we have are incredibly sturdy, to be honest. I've had carts forever. But anyway, I'm just conscious of, are we creating more waste and is it worth it for the objective? But we'll see. Thanks.
Thanks, Christy. Sandra?
I wanted to go back to the complaints thing. Are we focusing on the complaints that they're keeping record of, or the complaints that Washington County gets when people escalate to the point where they have to file a complaint with the county because they're not getting a response from the hauler? I would think that would be more important, and that would be much more accurate to keep track of.
So we keep track of all the complaints that we receive directly. They could be phone calls. We have an online system, or sometimes DQ or Metro or other jurisdictions pass on complaints based on addresses, that kind of thing. So we do keep track of all of the complaints, and the particular issue we're talking about, call wait times, callbacks, all of that, have been complaints that we've received.
Yeah, and it's not just the small ones. Right? I mean, I see on Nextdoor that there's quite a few, and whenever I see it on Nextdoor, I say, hey, file a complaint with the county, and I send them the link, because it's when it gets to that point where they're complaining to everybody, it needs to be resolved. And there has been a situation where I knew someone who did file after repeated calls to the hauler and nothing was done. They filed with the county and it was resolved within a week. So I was like, great. I also I was going to say now. I also agree with Christy about the color of the bins. In my neighborhood, I mean, we've been here over 20 years. We have bins from Valley Garbage still. And last night I was putting out, I couldn't remember if it was yard debris or recycling. And I was looking around all the neighbors, and everybody else had a different color. And I was like, well, I don't even know what it is. So I had to actually peek in one of them. It's like, oh, it's recycle day. So yeah, it'd be nice to, but I mean, our bins have lasted forever. They're perfect condition. So I don't know how they're gonna lose their life cycle, and it'll be a shame to throw them away when they still work. But that's about all I have to say.
Thanks, Sandra. Rusty?
Just as a follow-up to the color standardization of the bins, there's, like Kathy said, it's in the preliminary stages, but we've been talking, the idea of painting those bins, because they do last quite some time. There's the idea of painting, and I know the larger haulers all have, or most of them have paint shops where they're doing their containers or dumpsters. So that's an option. There's another option that's been floated, has been like large color coded stickers in order to reuse the bins, and then as they depreciate out or wear out, then they would be replaced with the actual colored bins that are made out of that colored plastic. So we still need the hauler input and to see what their thoughts are on that, but those are just some ideas to really reuse what's already in the fleet, their cart fleet. So
Is just changing out the lid an option? Or does it need to be the whole bin?
Yeah, that's been floated around as well. So, there's we're still in the brainstorming stage. And more to follow, I guess, as this develops and we get industry input and from the haulers and so I
So
hope that answers.
multifamily and Metro rules, it's the whole cart and the lids. I mean, it's not just lids. So
Mhm.
if
Yeah.
we want to follow across that, or if we don't, I mean, there's lots of different ways we could go. But right now, as it stands, where there actually is mandatory colors, it's the
Yeah.
whole cart.
For multifamily.
And that brings up a good point is the region going to standardize, under Metro? Portland's doing the whole cart. But then is the Metro government going to say, let's all standardize? So yeah, it's still in its infancy, but I'd imagine it would probably be the whole bin.
So what are they doing with the old bins?
I'm not sure.
Right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Glad everyone else's bin is holding up. Mine, I'm ready to replace. It's got like holes in it and not big enough to meet the standards of replacement though yet.
Yeah, sometimes like clamps really comes in hard, fast.
Yeah. Cool. Any other comments on this topic? I think as ideas or thoughts come to you, let Kathy know. Don't see any other hands. That's the right end of that agenda item. So then the last topic is the public communication. So if anybody in the attendees pool is interested in making a comment or asking a question for the committee, now is your opportunity to use the raise a hand feature. You can be promoted to. Looks like we have Beth. Could you promote Beth for a comment? And then we'll let you go after that, Brian.
Hi, I'm Beth Vargas Duncan, Oregon Refuse and Recycling Association, but tonight I'm not speaking for Oregon Refuse and Recycling Association. More closely, I facilitate the Washington County Haulers Association, and I'm not speaking for any position that they have tonight, but I will share, since it came up and you had a pretty rich conversation about color coding of carts, that during the discussion we had with Metro Regional Government about color coding standards for multifamily, we strenuously emphasized replacing lids only, with all the same concerns that I heard voiced here tonight. So some carts can be difficult to recycle and may not be able to be recycled. Often they can be repaired. We have many haulers have welders that fix them, and they do have a long life, and it's expensive to replace the cart itself. So I thought I'd just share a little bit of history and that bit of information. And if you need more details, we'd be happy to get that for you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Beth. That's good commentary. I remember when I went to Pride, actually, they showed me their welder. I thought that was a pretty cool way they could fix the cracks on the cans and keep them going. It's a great way to reduce costs and keep the rates down. Brian, did you have a comment still?
I do. First of all, it's directed at you, Ashwin. Thank you for your leadership. I really have appreciated. You've been my only chair, but I look forward to working with our new chair, Elizabeth. I wanted to double check with Kathy because I kind of consider you our parliamentarian, that it's okay for us to because Elizabeth, if you're open to it, I'd love to just get a coffee and chat at some point, right? And just get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Perfect. And then also with you, Rusty, right? I think that's allowed, right, Kathy?
Understanding. My understanding is that you just can't make it a public meeting.
Right.
So one-to-one. You can't take like a conversation one-to-one and then go to the next person and have the, because effectively you are having a serial conversation and you can't get around the rules that way. But otherwise, yes.
Perfect. The other thing I wanted to bring up, and I guess this is also to maybe you, Elizabeth, as our new chair, has a possible agenda item future, and also Rusty to you. Our last time we met, which was May, it was an energized conversation, right? Because it was about rates. I actually went back and watched it and reviewed and took some notes. A couple of key things I want to make sure doesn't fall off the radar, especially for you, Rusty, if you don't mind, but also you for Elizabeth, is we talked about that need for like an accountant or person or something. I can't remember what we talked about understanding. And I remember, I think I was watching the board work session June 3rd, where Aaron was talking about, hey, we're doing an RFP. I just would like to know, here's my fear, right? I don't want us to hit rate review session again, and all of a sudden we're right back where we started again, right? I'm hoping to see some energized change process, change coming, discussion, something. Because I think we all had some very interesting comments and concerns. And, I want to make sure we keep that energy going, right? I love that we got new people in place. So we can, have those discussions going forward. So I just wanted to put that on your radar, Elizabeth, has a key piece. Yeah.
Thanks,
That's it.
Brian.
And Brian, Aaron's very involved with the rate process, and it's starting to ramp up. So I'll have to go back and watch that last meeting and see what I can glean from it. But she's doing a terrific job with that.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder, Brian. That was a lively meeting. I think we had some good discussions. Great. If there's nothing else, no one else in the public attendees is raising their hand. So thank you, everybody, for convening tonight. Rich, sneaking one in on me.
Oops. Yeah. I just wanted to mention that I did a ride along with SWATCO. Spent part of the morning with early morning with Rich Weisel, and had a good time kind of seeing the areas kind of north of Banks and the rural areas in particular. And it is a long distance between a lot of those stops. So I agree with what Brian's saying, that we need to kind of look at kind of those sorts of issues and see that make some right decisions the next time we come around to the rate questions.
Yeah, thank you. I forgot about that rural urban debate. Yeah, that was huge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just Rich about that. That's something that staff's very aware of, and Aaron's working on that.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage you guys to reach out to Elizabeth, right, to get that, the right agenda items on there. And then Rich, during the committee news, right, I think it'd be good to hear anything you have about that SWATCO like ride along. That's one of the ones I didn't go on. So, I think everyone on the committee should feel free, especially during that committee news and calendar updates, right? That's our time to bring up any topics for discussion for future topics as well. So, or just experiences or things you want the rest of the committee to hear and understand from your own experience. So. Great. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good night.
See you in November.